surgery, and they also travel for health and wellness reasons.
David Vequist is the founder and director of the Center for Medical Tourism Research at UIW. He expects that this year, millions of travelers will spend more than $264 million on medical and healthcare services in Mexico, where it's cheaper. And from the little data available, Vequist says there doesn't seem to be much statistical difference in the quality of care from the U.S.
So when people go into Mexico, they're essentially saying that they believe that there's a certain quality level at a certain price point that they believe is giving them value.
The Associated Press reports one of the 4 travelers had reportedly wanted to get a tummy tuck. Vequist says research by his center that still has to go through the review process shows that's the most common procedure for women who are traveling abroad for cosmetic surgery. But medical safety isn't the only cause of concern for medical tourists.
Matamoros is in the Mexican state of Tamaulipas, which runs from Nuevo Laredo down to the Gulf of Mexico. Because of crime and kidnapping, the State Department has given it its highest advisory level: do not travel. That's the same level it gave to North Korea and Ukraine.
The remaining 2 survivors of the Matamoros group have been brought to a U.S. hospital, where they're getting a very different kind of health care than what brought them south. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Continuing our coverage of that deadly dog attack now. In a span of 2 years, SAPD called more than 100 times to the home where the owners of the dogs involved in that deadly attack lived. 112 calls of service made, ranging from firework disturbances, loud music, shots fired, abandoned vehicles. Of all the calls, only 2 were animal related. Most of those went to animal care services. One neighbor told KSAT she even wrote a letter to Councilwoman Terry Castillo about the constant problem with Christian Moreno and Abilene Schneider, the 2 people who live here. Councilwoman Castillo says she never got that letter.
We asked the constituent around what time frame that it was delivered. She did not recall. And then I asked if there was a follow-up email or phone call, and there was not.
The councilwoman says she is now in contact with those neighbors. As for Moreno and Schneider, they remain in the Bexar County Jail facing a charge of deadly dog attack resulting in death and injury to elderly.
New information this evening about a fatal shooting at a motel over the weekend. The name of the man who died was 23-year-old Dion Amirez, but it's unclear if the man who killed him will actually be charged for it. The shooting happened Saturday at the Upland Inn off of I-10 East near Houston Street. San Antonio police say Amirez walked into the room where a couple was staying. Police allege that Amirez had been stalking a woman there. When he refused to leave, police say the man in that room shot Amirez in the head, and he later died. Again, no word yet on any charges.
A man recovering from being nicked by a bullet fired during an apparent road rage shooting. That man says he did nothing to provoke the shooter. Our Katrina Weber spoke with him about how he was able to get away before even more violence happened.
Help came quickly for Noe Mendoza in response to trouble that happened in an instant.
I have no idea what I did to set them off, but it happens.
Mendoza pulled into this parking lot near Loop 410 and Southton Road after someone armed and angry took aim at him just before 6:30 this morning. He was driving home from work at the time. Mendoza says he had just pulled onto the access road here from Roosevelt when he suddenly found himself involved in what became a heated race for his life.
I drove around them. They tried to cut me off again. And sped up to get away from them. They got ahead of me, and then they started shooting at me.
He says a passenger in a white Jeep Grand Cherokee fired at him at least 4 times. His truck was left with bullet holes and a flattened tire. One bullet also grazed his shoulder.
Felt like a burn, but I didn't realize I had actually been shot until I pulled over here.
After paramedics patched him up, police questioned him for clues, hoping some of that information might help them track down the shooter. Mendoza says he's stunned by what happened, but not exactly surprised.
We live in Texas where you don't need a permit to carry a loaded gun in a vehicle.
He says he's glad in this case he was able to walk away without any serious injuries. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
An alleged burglary, a high-speed chase, and a car driven through a shed. San Antonio police say one man is behind all of that. That crash happened just after midnight on Mariner Street near Old Pearsall Road in Loop 410. Police found a car driven through the shed and into the side of a house. Police believe the man was speeding and lost control while trying to get away from a burglary. He was arrested there on the spot.
To Galveston now, where the body of one of the twin boys last seen at Pleasure Pier on Sunday was found. We first told you about this developing story yesterday. Galveston Island Beach Patrol confirmed the remains found today. It has not been made clear which twin's body was found and which twin they're still searching for. Patrol officials say the east to west flow of the current could mean the other twin can be either 1 block or 3 miles down the beach, based on where the first body was found.
A disease with a well-known name getting the word out. Sean Elliott, the Spurs legend and broadcaster, was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease 30 years ago, and still today he is on a mission for early prevention. During National Kidney Month, RJ Marquez talks with Elliott about his own journey and what he wants everyone to know.
Sean Elliott was 25 years old and in the prime of his career when he learned he had a form of kidney disease.
I was blindsided by kidney disease. I thought I was a healthy young man because I was in great physical shape and I played in the NBA, and it was something that was really eye-opening.
Elliott's journey goes back 3 decades. He was diagnosed in 1993 and had a life-saving transplant in 1999 after he was told he may not live through the year.
Low energy, a lot of water retention, loss of appetite, just wasn't clear-headed. But at that time, we had a chance to win an NBA championship, and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to play again.
Thanks to his brother and donor Noel, Elliott's procedure was successful and both have had healthy lives. But doctors say kidney disease is a condition that often goes unnoticed until too late.
It affects 37 million Americans, and 90% of those people or Americans don't know that they are struggling with chronic kidney disease.
The National Kidney Foundation says a simple blood and urine test can detect the disease that is more common within minority communities.
We have about 72,000 patients with significant kidney failure, kidney disease.
Elliott says that he's wanted to use his platform to show how early screening can save your life or the lives of your loved ones.
Be diligent and be aware. City, and a lot of them are preventable, and you're going to be around to see your kids and your grandkids and your brothers, your sister, and your family members grow up.
RJ Marquez, KSAT 12 News.
San Antonio's Workforce Initiative, Ready to Work, announces the launch of their pilot program for military members in Bexar County. That expansion for active duty soldiers and veterans to receive help finding and training for good paying jobs. The goal is to encourage them to stay in San Antonio and help transition them into civilian life. For more information on eligibility requirements, just head to KSAT.com.
A look outside with live cam this evening. Another warm one out there. Looks kind of gray from this view. That humidity is still really hanging around. Wish we could get something useful out of it, Adam.
That's right. You know, it takes the humidity to make rain. It takes other ingredients as well that we don't have coming together, at least not right now. We'll get into a deeper dive in our rain chances in a moment. First, I want to talk temperatures. 81 our high temperature today, the average being 72. But where we had more hours of sunshine, meaning got rid of those morning clouds more quickly, it was warmer. Pleasanton 89. Cotulla topped out at 97. Del Rio a high temperature of 90 degrees. Right now Del Rio at 87 and Carrizo Springs at 90, and even 80 here in San Antonio, but some 70s to the north. Get to Comfort 75 Bandera right now at 77 along with Bulverde. And this evening, pretty straightforward. Temperatures just gradually falling off. When you have this mugginess in the air, temperatures don't fall very quickly at night. So we'll be near 70 at 10 o'clock, midnight 68 degrees. And tomorrow morning, we'll start the day in the mid-60s for most of us. Some upper 50s possible in the hill country, but overall mid-60s around San Antonio with more fog and drizzle. We'll talk more about the rain chances and when we have them in just a bit.
Thank you, Adam. Prices for products going up, but this time inflation not to blame, but the pandemic may be. Why different companies switching to premium pricing is costing us all more.
Plus, a local man living with ALS will take center stage at South by Southwest in a documentary with some big names behind it. What he hopes this film will do for those living with a disease that right now has no cure.
But first, I want to show you some breaking news right now. An accident at Loop 410 in Cherry Ridge. This is near Vance Jackson Road, near that exit anyway. You can see that they are diverting people around. Looks like they do have at least one vehicle on the tow truck, so hopefully this will be cleaned up and out of the way momentarily, but right now causing a bit of a bottleneck.
I'm Stefania Jimenez, and here's a few things that we're working on for you tonight on the Night Beat. This is a story that we've been following closely. 4 Americans traveled to Mexico for a medical procedure, and then 2 of them are killed. Now, as local college students start getting ready for spring break, we're going to look at how that deadly event could affect travel plans. Also, this is an important conversation that's still happening almost 10 months after 19 students and 2 teachers were killed at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. Today, State Senator Roland Gutierrez, joined by family members of those victims, introduced a new proposal for gun reform. Tonight on the Night Beat, how those bills could reduce gun deaths moving forward. We'll see you for those stories and a lot more tonight on the Night Beat.
Thank you, Stephanie. Well, a local ALS patient and advocate will be in an important film this week at South by Southwest.
That documentary about the creation of the I Am ALS nonprofit is already turning heads across the country, in part thanks to some big names.
Courtney Friedman tells us how the film captures a turning point in the history of ALS advocacy.
This is Juan Reyes, a face you've seen many times on KSAT. He's an ALS patient who travels nationwide advocating for the ALS community. This Sunday at South by Southwest, he'll appear in a film about the creation of an already life-changing nonprofit, I Am ALS.
I'm in the film a few times where I'm sharing some of my thoughts about ALS and I Am ALS as an organization.
ALS patient Brian Wallach and his wife Sandra Abrevaya founded the organization, which in just 3 years has helped fund crucial research and lobbied to change laws.
It really is a glimpse at the power that individuals, that a small group of people can make a huge impact.
Adding some star power to the film were executive producers Katie Couric and Phil Rosenthal. Reyes got to meet both.
Katie Couric is just a ball of fire, full of energy, and Phil is just as approachable and friendly as he comes across on his show.
He believes with so much support, ALS will be cured, if not for his generation, then the next. That positivity landed him some big news last week, that he was accepted as the newest board member to the I Am ALS Foundation.
That they literally have changed the world of ALS.
And so has Reyes. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
By the way, South by Southwest begins on Friday in Austin. We have a KSAT crew that will be there live. Our RJ Marquez will be giving us all the highlights from local artists participating in the conference. You can follow along with his live streams by subscribing to the KSAT YouTube channel.
Sky 12 now. Let's take a look outside, flying over the zoo here. This is the elephant habitat. Now, after this week, the last remaining elephant at the San Antonio Zoo, Nicole, will be gone and living in her new home in Tennessee. But the elephants will be back once the zoo expands on its elephant sanctuary.
Yeah, they're doing a little remodeling.
Yes, I actually told you guys I went there last week. There's a lot of construction ongoing there. So big plans for the zoo.
All right. Meanwhile, it's very humid out there. A lot of people complaining about the humidity today, Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello spring. It's time we start to get used to that mugginess in the air. There will be a break as we get into the tail end of the weekend, but until then, I think you'll be noticing it throughout. And it takes that humidity to make rain, but let's start with a look at our rain chances. They're still fairly slim, but we have a few opportunities where some of us could get in on some quick showers and storms. That's Friday morning, 30%, and then again Sunday night into Monday, 20%. Now let's put this into perspective in terms of our measured rainfall. Since March 1st, officially at the airport, 0.16. That's about a third of an inch below average so far for the month. The month is obviously pretty early, but let's go all the way back to January 1st. Year to date, we've had just over 2 inches, and that's 2.2 inches below average. In terms of the 365-day deficit, I mean, we know we're in a drought right now, and the worst part of the drought is actually right here where you see the largest deficit. Kerrville, over 24-inch deficit. Same story with New Braunfels, San Antonio, Pleasanton as well, and Fredericksburg. That's over the past 365 days compared to average. We don't have as much of a deficit. You go west, closer to the Rio Grande, and actually in better shape and in better conditions there. But we've got that deficit. We'd like to break free from it. The overall trend here over the next 6 to 10 days is the Climate Prediction Center going off some more medium to long range models. Of course, the west coast of the U.S. That's where we are very likely to be above average in terms of precipitation. Another atmospheric river coming on shore for a few days. Here, I mean, we'll have some rain in parts of Texas, but I'm not all that optimistic we'll get much out of it in our neck of the woods. Here's the situation right now. Cold front off into North Texas, some southwesterly flow aloft coming off the Pacific. Little bits of energy within that flow causing some of these showers that you see New Mexico, North Texas, into Oklahoma as well. This cold front's going to just basically stall out across North Texas and just north of our area over the next couple of days. Still helping to cause some showers and storms, but it's finally going to get picked up by a new cold front Friday morning, plunge southward, and then it gives us that 30% chance for Friday morning. So we're not looking at a big, large-scale system, not looking at a big upper-level low coming in, just some frontal forcing that could kickstart a few of those showers and storms. That would be Friday morning. Yeah, we'll have more dampness because of the mugginess, the fog, and the drizzle, but the real rain, just that slight chance Friday. And then again, Sunday night into Monday. 80 degrees right now. Dew point is 67, so it is muggy. It is sticky out there. Check out Helotes, a dew point of 70. Converse, measured at Randolph Air Force Base. Dew point is 69 along with Seguin. We're approaching that oppressive territory, and it's that time of year. You just need to start getting used to the humidity and the mugginess, even up into the hill country where they sometimes see that drier air this time of day. Dew point still largely in the 60s, and no surprise, right near 70, closer to the Gulf Coast. So tomorrow, some fog and drizzle developing again. Could be a few issues on the roadways for the morning commute. 65 degrees at 7 a.m. By noon, low clouds, gray at 76, and then a high temperature of 84. It looks like we'll make it into the mid-80s tomorrow afternoon, squeezing in a little bit of sunshine during the late afternoon hours. Bernie, Bulverde 81, Canyon Lake 82 in Floresville, and Pleasanton making it up to 86. Pretty much identical as we get into Thursday, then Friday morning that front hits, a little breezy behind it on Friday, 74, so a bit cooler on Friday as well. Saturday, upper 70s. By Sunday, we spike well into the 80s, only to drop off again by early next week.
And there's that thing on Sunday we do with the clocks.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess the clocks mostly do it for us now.
Yeah. Some of them you have to do yourself.
At least we got that going for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the fact that the state basketball tournament is here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I like it even more when there's local teams that are playing.
Yeah, 4 local teams. We've taken a look at 2 of them so far. Now we're going to look at the Bernie boys basketball team. Hopefully, third time is the charm for the Greyhounds. And in women's college basketball, Jordan Jenkins named your Conference USA Player of the Year. Coming up.
There's a lot of people invested in this hat surviving for a few more years.
Why has a Trinity women's head basketball coach worn the same San Francisco Giants baseball cap for the last 11 years, and why is it so special? But first, it's a three-peat for the Bernie Greyhounds, who are back in the state tournament for the 3rd year in a row. The Greyhounds beat Stafford 50-32 in the regional final to advance to the UIL Class 4A state playoffs at the Alamo Dome. Bernie is 32-5 and will face 28-7 Houston, Washington, with the winner advancing to the 4A state final. Bernie was knocked out in the state semifinals each of the past 2 seasons. Last year to Wichita Falls Hershey, and the year before that to Huffman Hargrave, each by 6 points. Now the Greyhounds certainly looking to change that. So when did this squad know they were going to have another special season?
Probably right when we got back from football. We have really good chemistry on and off the court, and so it was really easy for us to get back into it as soon as we started playing again.
That Christmas tournament at home, Football kind of got, I think it was our 4th or 5th game back. Everything kind of started to click. We were winning games by a lot more than we were beforehand. So I think when that kind of started to happen, we kind of picked up and said, all right, just time to get back to where we were.
Bernie and Houston, Washington will square off Friday, 3 p.m. at the Dome in the Class 4A state semifinals. UTSA junior forward Jordan Jenkins was named the Conference USA Player and Newcomer of the Year on top of her first-team nod. The USC transfer leads the conference with 612 points, averaging 21.1 points per game, and she tops the conference with 218 rebounds. This is only the 3rd time in conference history that one player earned both Player and Newcomer of the Year. Forward Alyssa Coleman was named to the All-Defensive Team, and Steele alum Cindy Love was named to the All-Freshman squad. Yesterday, we stopped by practice and talked with the team ahead of the Conference USA Championships, and riding a 4-game winning streak has given the Roadrunners a big boost of confidence.
No, I want them to believe. Absolutely. I mean, I think we've played well enough to believe. Now we got to go out and do it, and we understand that, but I think we've played well enough. This isn't a fluke as far as how well we're playing, and I think they need to believe that.
We're aiming for 4 in a row again. Clearly it's possible, and I like our standing in the bracket right now, and we just got to take it one game at a time.
UTSA flew up to Frisco this morning, where they'll face Florida Atlantic 2 p.m. tomorrow in the first round. The Trinity Tigers advanced to the 3rd round of the NCAA Division III postseason for the 2nd consecutive season. The Tigers are 28-1 overall and seeking their first national championship since the 2002-03 team. Head coach Cameron Hill, who's now in his 11th season as the Tigers head coach, is often seen wearing a San Francisco Giants baseball cap, and we asked him why.
This was a gift from my athletic director, and I started wearing it really the moment I got here, and I'm just a superstitious guy. It's got a pretty good winning percentage, so it's going to ride until it falls apart. It's just the hat. I like the Giants, but it's not, it's not a fan thing. It's more of it's just a hat.
That hat is certainly worn out. Now, hopefully that cap brings Trinity more good luck when they play at Tufts University Friday night in round 3 of the Division III playoffs.
All right. Good luck to everybody.
Yep.
Thanks, Larry. We'll be right back. Time now for today's KSAT Q&A, where we are joined by San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg. Mayor, thank you so much for being here with us this evening, as on most Tuesdays. We want to start with an issue, a story that continues to get a lot of viewer reaction. At the end of February, a deadly dog attack on the city's west side, an 81-year-old man killed by those dogs. We ran a story today where we found out there were more than 100 calls to police over a 2-year span about a wide range of issues out that house, some of which were animal related, shots fired, fireworks, calls for child protective services. Can the city take action against a homeowner when there is such a history of issues like that?
Those are the same questions I'm asking, Myra, and it is a increasingly disturbing story as we find out more details about what was happening in that house, the treatment of the animals, even the treatment of the children. And that's what I want to know is when there's such an egregious flouting of the law in so many different respects, and really, well beyond being a nuisance, whether there are escalating penalties for that would have potentially given officers more tools to work with to make sure something like this didn't happen. But those are the kinds of things that we are going to be addressing. We also have a session with our Animal Care Services strategic plan presentation coming up for council in a couple of weeks. That was scheduled prior to this incident, but there's a lot of questions being raised because of what we're learning about this house and the people living in it.
Yeah, it seemed, neighbors tell us they almost felt like they were held hostage by these people that were living in this house, not only because of the dogs, because of so many other things that were going on there. What's your advice for homeowners who have, a neighbor like this that they can't deal with, just face to face? What is the best advice for neighbors?
The first thing obviously is get to know your neighbors. And if a neighbor is just not being responsive and being a bad actor on the street or something like that, there is there are solutions to that, and that's when you begin to reach out to the authorities. Of course, if there's anything dangerous, if there's violence or evidence of that, feel free to call the police. That's what we want. We want people to report incidents so that we can keep them from escalating. But again, we've got to do our fair due diligence on this and find out why a lot of these warning signs were missed, and we ended up seeing a tragedy unfold a couple of weeks ago.
What specifically are you looking for from Animal Care Services when you have this meeting that's coming up? I mean, are there certain things that you would like to see put into place? I know that you've talked to Animal Care Services, you've talked to different people since this tragedy. What are you hearing, and what would you like to see done?
Well, number one, I want to make sure that our Animal Care Services and the whole team, the volunteers, the advocacy groups, have the resources that they need to get the job done. We have a tremendous problem within our community, like so many others, but particularly here in San Antonio with regard to responsible pet ownership. And that starts with, things like spay and neuter programs. Are we providing the right level of resources to spay and neuter the animals that are out there? Are we providing the right educational opportunities for people who want to become pet owners so that they act responsibly? But we also have to have a very close look at the law. And we've already been in conversations with our state delegation, our legislators, to identify gaps and give ACS, the officers, more tools to seize animals who would become dangerous in the event that there's an issue, again, of an affidavit not being filed. But clear as day, there are animals who are being neglected, being abused, and ultimately turning into aggressive and dangerous animals.
Mayor, I want to move on to another issue the City Council is going to address this week, the digital divide, the gap between people who have internet and who don't have internet access in San Antonio. A lot of people may not realize that gap is still as large as it is in 2023. What action does the city want to take? What steps to try to lessen that, to try to get access in places where the internet is not reachable right now?
Right. Having affordable internet access is no longer a luxury, not in this day and age. And that was plainly evident during the disruption of the pandemic when kids couldn't do homework, for instance, and people couldn't apply for jobs, when a lot of things were knocked out of in-person activities and people went online. People who were not able to access the internet were really at a disadvantage. This is a utility in the 21st century. So we want to make sure that we are bridging the digital divide. We had an RFP go out. It's a national priority to make sure that folks who are on the other side of the digital divide have connectivity. And so we'll be hearing the results of an RFP focusing on, in particular, 26 census tracts in our community that have very poor or no connectivity, and the plan to address them over the course of the next 36 months in partnership with the ISPs who actually deliver that service.
I want to follow that and maybe get it into a little more detail in the weeks to come. But let's talk about ARPA, too. I know ARPA funding, you have some decisions to make on that this week as well.
Yeah, we'll be hearing the report on small business assistance and making sure that we are, again, allocating the proper level of relief to both grow small business, but also deal with some of the impacts of the COVID pandemic and the disruptions economically that happened from there. As you know, there was a portion of the ARPA funds that had not been allocated yet. We'll be hearing some additional information about those recommendations in the coming days as well. So the ARPA, again, stands for the American Rescue Plan Act. So these are federal resources that came down to our community over the last couple of years to really deal with the fallout economically of the COVID-19 impact, as well as the public health infrastructure that we so desperately need to shore up in our country.
That's what ARPA stands for, an RFP, request for proposals. If anybody's got those on their municipal bingo cards, right?
Can you tell who used to cover City Hall? Can you tell that? Yeah. She's got all the lingo down.
Doing a great job with the acronyms.
Oh, thanks.
Well done.
A few things stuck from those years. Mayor, thanks so much for your time here.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care. We'll be right back.